Hey everyone. Okay, so today we are going to learn how to find the simplest form of fractions. Another way that I have heard this mentioned, instead of finding simplest form, sometimes it says they'll ask you to simplify the fraction, or this is a big one. I've seen a lot of questions that ask you to reduce the fraction, especially in middle school. I see that word more. Okay, so to find simplest form, I used to think about it's finding like the little baby fraction, okay? So what do I mean by that? Well, let's look at an example. If you read 50 out of 100 pages of a book, right? If you say, well, I read 50 out of 100 pages of that book, is there another way, and think about equivalent fractions, is there another way that you can represent how much you've read, but in a simpler, more reduced fashion? Well, wait, 50 hundredths is the same thing as half, right? And do you see how half is a much simpler, reduced way of saying 50 hundredths? Okay, and so that's why I call it the baby fraction. That is not a math term. The math term is that this would be the simplest form, or the reduced fraction. Okay, but this is a nice easy one that you might have just known in your head. We need to be able to find out how to put any fraction in simplest form. Okay, so we are going to take a look at an example right now. So let's look at the fraction 4/24. Okay, and obviously I have a chant. Okay, so as a math doctor, we want to go ahead and put this in simplest form. Okay, so here's how the chant goes. Okay, it's kind of like the same denominator chant, but now what do we want? We want simplest form. We find the factors. So we're going to say that. Simplest form, you find the factors. Simplest form, you find the factors. So I'm noticing a lot of that repeating F sound kind of makes it a little catchy, right? Simplest form, you find the factors. And then we'll say, what kind of factors? And then we'll say greatest common factors. Okay, so this GCF, you'll hear that in math sometimes. What that stands for is greatest common factors. Okay, so one more time. Simplest form, I keep saying, we find the factors. Simplest form, we find the factors. What kind of factors? Greatest common factors. So the greatest factors they both have. Okay, so time out. My mission as a doctor is to put this in simplest form. So I'm not just looking at the denominator, I'm looking at the whole darn thing. And I want to put it in simplest form. So I have to find the factors, okay? Now I am going to find the factors of the 4 and factors of the 24. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. Now, when you're finding the factors of the 4, so the numerator, right? And the factors of the 24, so the denominator, now we have to think about factors. Hey, wait a minute. I remember when we learned about factors, we did that fun chant that was called flip-flop. Oh my gosh, it's a terrible flip-flop, but it is a flip-flop. Is that what a flip-flop even looks like? I don't know. But that's my flip-flop. We did a chant that said, flip-flop, you stop. So you might need to turn to your math notebooks and make sure you remember how to find factors. Okay? To get us started, we also always said finding factors, remember this? finding factors, and then we would say always, always, always start with 1. Okay, so those were like old things that we've learned, but those methods of finding factors are going to help us. So let's kind of take it from the top. We need simplest form, we find the factors. What kind of factors? Greatest common factors. Okay, let's go ahead and look at this. Factors of 4. Always, always, always start with 1. 1 times 4, 2 times 2. Hey, that's the same forwards and backwards. 2 times 2 and 2 times 2. That means it's a flip, flop, you stop. Let's find factors of 24. 1 times 24, 2 times 12, 3 times 8, 4 times 6, 5 times nothing, 6 times 4. Hey, wait, 4 times 6 and 6 times 4. That's a flip, flop, you stop. Okay, so simplest form, we find the factors. What kind of factors? Greatest common factors. What's the biggest factor they both have? Okay, don't rush this part. You really got to be like a math detective and look carefully. Like 24 is a big factor. Oh, but they both don't have it. Hey, wait a minute. I found it. They both have a 4 as a factor. That's the biggest one they both share. So my greatest common factor is a 4. Now guys, this is like a magical number, this 4. And what this 4 tells me is it gives me the magic power of what to do to simplify this. Okay, think about it. Didn't I want to make this simpler? I have this magical number 4. Guys, if I divide the top by the magic 4 and the bottom by the magic 4, I am going to get a reduced fraction. 4 divided by 4 is 1. You can always check with multiplication. 1 times 4 is 4. What times 4 is 24? If you need to look at your list, you can. 6 times 4 is 24. So boys and girls, I just simplified this fraction using this magical number called the GCF, or the greatest common factor. Okay, because that told me that I can divide a 4 by 4 and a 24 by 4 to knock it down to its little baby version, its simplest little version. Okay, so this is a lot, but I promise you the more we practice this, the better you'll get, okay? So we are going to take notes and practice this skill, and this chant, we're really going to want to remember this. So we'll keep working on it, all right? Good job.